friends. I know, episode 3 already out of 5 episodes. Let's go ahead and kind of walk our friends through where we're at, where we've come, and where we're going. So on the screen, we can see that I have the AWS training and certification on Twitch landing page. One second. Gosh, it's almost like I haven't talked today. So the AWS training and certification on Twitch landing page, if you go to awspowerhour.com, and we'll make sure we get a link in the chat here for everyone, that'll take you to this page. And if you scroll down just a little bit, then you'll see there's 23 different shows that we have on the page. Really want you to focus on the AWS Power Hour Associate Certification, but feel free to venture around the page, find some more episodes or series that may be best suited for your learning journey. If you click on this, then that'll take you over to the AWS Power Hour Associate Certification page, which if you scroll down, you'll see it's not just the Architecting Associate. We also have our friends Duan, Linda, and David on the Developer Associate. And we also have our friends Zach, Marilia, and Matt Heffernan on the SysOps Administrator Associate. But for the Architecting Associate, with our friends up here at the top, Greg and Forrest, and everyone joining live today, we had episode 1 2 weeks ago. That was the introduction to the exam, some exam tips. And so go back and watch that. You can click watch on demand. And then episode 2 was last week, talking about security. So security is our top priority at AWS. And we spent 90 minutes digging into security details and diving deep into your questions. Today, we're going to dive deep into designing resilient architectures, because resilience is key. I'm not going to speak for all of our friends here. So Greg and Forrest, what about resiliency is exciting to you?
Cool. I'll take it over here from Aaron. Thank you for that introduction. And as mentioned, somebody I saw a chat was like, where can we watch those episodes 1 and 2? As Aaron mentioned, these are actually on demand. So this week, we are going to talk about designing resilient architectures. I'm actually a solution architect in my day job, and I spent many years helping customers do just that. So it says here, you'll need a strong understanding of API creation and management using edge accelerators, disaster recovery, and all these different things. And some of the guiding principles here are really, you're focusing on designing scalable and loosely coupled architectures. Dig into more of that, what that means in a minute, and designing highly available and fault-tolerant architectures. So when we think of scalable, that's pretty self-explanatory. When your application is hit with a lot of demand, you need to scale out. But in the cloud, not only do you just get to scale out, when that demand goes away, you get to scale in. So that demonstrates the concept of elasticity. And loosely coupled, which we'll talk a little bit more about here in depth as we go with the episode, is designing a system that is not brittle. So if I were to go try to bend a ruler, that usually snaps. But if I was going to bend like a paper clip, that kind of bends. You want your architecture to kind of be operate in the same way. So where if you experience some sort of underlying component failure, the application is resilient and it can keep on ticking like a good watch. And one discussion I'll get into here real quick with that designing highly available and fault tolerant systems is that those are a little bit different. Fault tolerance is when you want to design a system that even in the midst of a fault, it keeps on going. Highly available system means that the application is available most of the time, but it could experience a hiccup. Now, there are some trade-offs in basically design cost in terms of which way you want to go there. So lots of action-packed stuff that we're going to talk about. I do want to drill a little bit into what resiliency is, because, you know, we just said design a resilient system, but it's really good to look at the AWS World Architect framework to figure out how AWS officially defines these things. Because as you're thinking about going through that exam, you want to look through the lens of picking, you know, the right answers, and not only beyond the exam preparation in real life, designing things from a resiliency perspective based on the definition. So there's 3 overarching things here. And it's basically, we want to recover from failures that are induced by one of 3 options. Either under a load, so we're placing our application under a heavy load, we need to be resilient to that. Attacks, where they're accidental, like maybe you miskeyed something or you introduced a bug into your code, or malicious, and just underlying component failures. So that's what resiliency is basically architecting against that. So yeah, I'll pause there for a minute, and Forrest or Aaron, if you wanted to chime in, you're welcome to, before we kind of continue on. That was a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Yeah, I think I saw like a couple questions like, what is the difference between resiliency and high availability and fault tolerance and all of those things? And I think that is a good discussion, right? And I think just to sum it up again, really quickly, right? High availability or resiliency is the idea that we can recover from failures. Doesn't mean zero downtime necessarily. It means we're rapidly able to respond from those kinds of events, right? Whereas fault tolerance is the idea that we have basically zero downtime. That is typically more expensive and harder to achieve. One thing I like to think about there is like fault tolerance is something that we did in like our more traditional data centers. Sometimes you had a physical server that had fault tolerant power supplies. One power supply goes out, everything keeps running, right? I think that's a good way to think of fault tolerance. High availability is the idea that, hey, we got multiple web servers split out across multiple availability zones. All right, one of them might fail, right? But we can very quickly fail over to the secondary one or the high availability pair, right? That's the kind of high level there, right? But yeah, we're going to dive into what this means and take a look at some examples of this architecture and how this applies for you, for everybody out there that's preparing for their solutions architect exam, right? And then, with that, Greg, do you want to maybe share everybody again our Get Certified Challenge? This is a great resource. I saw a couple people also thrown into chat asking about, hey, is there a way we could get a discount or a voucher for the exam? And the Get Certified Challenge, this is exactly what you should go sign up for. And in fact, it was our home fun assignment from episode 1. So if you hadn't had a chance to sign up for the Associate Challenge, go out and do that, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Before we do that, if I can jump in real quick. We've been talking for about 14 minutes here, and we haven't given our friends a single poll. So should we maybe do a poll and see where they're joining from?
100%.
And we can also throw that link in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and share what that poll looks like on your end. So when you click on the link, that's going to be in the chat. So stay tuned, everyone. Or you can go to bit.ly/SAA. Let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and just get that up here on the screen. Boop, 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 boop. And here's the chat. There it is. So Jeff, thank you, Jeff, one of our chat moderators over on Twitch, added that link here. So this is what it looks like. bit.ly/SAA-S1E3. That's the poll link, so you can cast your vote. When you have this link pulled up, we really want to know, are you joining from LinkedIn or are you joining from Twitch? So you can click on one or both if you happen to have both loaded. I mean, extra love for Greg and Forrest over here. And then from our end, it looks just like this. So you can actually cast your vote and make changes to the poll, and we can see where people are joining from. So there might be some kind of a delay on LinkedIn, because I can see from the metrics that there's over 1,000 people watching live.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
yeah, I want to see that that LinkedIn bar catch up with Twitch, like have a battle, right?
That's right.
I mean, if everyone on LinkedIn were to cast their vote and say LinkedIn, then let me get my face out of here because you can't see me talking. But if everyone on LinkedIn were to cast their vote and say on LinkedIn, you know what'll probably happen? That blue bar will go straight all the way up. But let's see.
Through the roof.
Anyway, we'll come back to this in a little bit. We'll leave the poll running while Greg walks through Forrest's question.